All cultures throughout the world have mystical lands that exist alongside their own. These lands are usually associated with the dead or magical creatures, and some well-known examples that come to mind include the Greek Underworld and Xibalba from Mayan mythology. But there is one such realm that doesn't get nearly as much coverage in the wider world, and it is a little different from its counterparts. The realm I speak of is of course Annwfn, also known as the Welsh Otherworld. Wales is a small country of about 3 million people. It can be found on the west side of the UK, right between England and Ireland. This small country is the land of my ancestors and the place I have called home my entire life. It is a country full of magic, song, folklore and mythology, and Annwfn is usually found at the very centre of its magic. Also known as Annwn in some cases, Annwfn can be translated to the very deep or the deep place. It is a realm where fairies and other liminal beings call their home. But unlike places such as the Greek Otherworld, Annwfn is not home exclusively to the dead. Mortal beings from our world can very much travel to Annwfn and come and go as they please. Some mortals even travel to Annwfn and don't return for decades or even centuries at a time. Mortals being able to traverse the lands of Annwfn makes it quite unique, so to compare it to the likes of the underworld of Greek mythology or the Mayan Xibalba isn't exactly fair. Countless theories have been tossed around about what Annwfn actually is. Some people think it is a physical place or realm that can be accessed from many different places, while others believe it exists parallel or alongside Earth or even in the mind. It is very much a liminal realm, neither here nor there, neither corporeal or incorporeal. The liminal nature of the Welsh Otherworld is part of what makes it so mysterious. Another thing to note about Annwfn is that most mortals who travel there want to travel there, or they stumble upon it by complete accident. In most cases, it isn't described as being this dark and dingy place, but somewhere bright and otherworldly and magical and like a utopia. Of course, the denizens of the Otherworld can be quite tricksy. Lots of them are fairies after all. And if you know anything about Welsh fairies, you know that they can be temperamental at best. There are of course dangers within Annwfn, but the realm itself isn't necessarily described as a dangerous place. One of the most well-known stories about Annwfn comes from the first branch of the Mabinogi, or the Mabinogi is a term you might be more familiar with. The story in question is of course about Pwyll, the Prince of Dyfed. I'm going to tell you a very condensed and unfinished version of the story, and this is just to give you more of a feel about Annwfn. The story starts with the prince going on a hunting trip within his realms of Dyfed to an ancient woodland called Glenkeith. Here, he is separated from his hunting party once he sounds his horn and releases his hunting dogs. He travels deeper and deeper into the forest until he reaches a clearing, and he finds his dogs with a killed stag. But upon closer inspection, the prince realizes there was something different about these canines. They were completely white and their ears were red. We now know that these dogs were the Cwn Annwn, or the hounds of Annwfn. He quickly shooed the dogs away and allowed his own to feast on the stag instead. Then a rider appeared in the clearing, angry, and announced that he was Arawn, one of the kings of Annwfn, and the white hounds the prince had dismissed were his. After a heated discussion, the prince offered his services to help the king and get back into his good graces, so they may form a friendship and repair the damage of the offence. Arawn explains that he is warring with a rival king, and needs the prince to take his place and face him in single combat in exactly a year and a day from this meeting. This would also mean that the prince would have to live in Annwfn until the fight took place. While in the king's place, the prince would take on his form, so no one within Arawn's court, not even his wife, would suspect that he was an imposter. The prince accepted these terms and he took his place within the king's court in the Otherworld. Arawn's court consisted of a castle, a barn, and many other buildings, workmen, people of the court, nobles and ladies and knights, and other things that you would expect to find in the Welsh landscape. The prince fulfilled his oath, and he and the king of Annwfn became friends. There is of course a lot more to this story, but I bring it up in this context because of the way that Annwfn is described. There is not a single mention of lakes of fire or souls of the dead. It isn't dark, it isn't gloomy. It sounds like a paradise, like an even more magical version of what Wales already was at the time. It's still described as being different from our realm, however. The prince was taken aback by how the light and darkness were different, how the air was different, but it wasn't once described as an evil or scary place. In that particular story from the first branch of the Mabinogi, Annwfn is accessed through a forest. But there are many ways that the Welsh Otherworld can be accessed. In Greek mythology, generally the Underworld is only really accessed via the ferryman on the River Styx. But the Welsh Otherworld has an almost ubiquitous amount of entrances. Some examples include beneath lakes and crossing the sea, bodies of water just in general, burial mounds, ancient woodlands like in that story, caves and yew trees. As for creatures, there are many denizens of the Underworld. As mentioned in the story of the Prince of Dyfed, we have the Cwn Annwn, also known as the Hounds of Annwfn. We of course have the Tylwyth Teg, which is the Welsh word for fair folk, and the spirits of the dead are also said to reside here too. But this isn't an exclusive realm for the souls of the dead. As you can see, there are multiple different types of denizens of Annwfn. One such example of a creature that I'm familiar with is the Annwn, or the Water Maidens of Annwfn. They're usually described as being Welsh water fairies who are exceptionally beautiful and have an epiphany for water magic. The Annwn, through mythology and folklore, are known to come and go from Annwfn as they please, and they like to spend a lot of time in our realm. Some even start families in our world, and they will stay here for decades at a time. But in most stories of the Annwn, after so long they usually return back to Annwfn. But that's the thing about creatures that come from the Welsh Otherworld. Time moves differently for them and within the realm they call home. This is why when mortals travel there, time gets a little bit muddled. They could accidentally stumble upon an entrance to Annwfn and they could have only been gone for half hour, but in reality and in our world, they've been gone for decades, sometimes even centuries. And this is what I mean by Annwfn might sound like a utopia. I mean, it sounds so inviting whenever I hear stories about it. But travelling there should not be done on a whim, nor should it be taken lightly. It's definitely just as dangerous as it is beautiful and a utopia. But I think this is the case for any realm that is not a mortal realm, because it operates in a way that doesn't abide to human law. The way Annwfn operates runs parallel to the way that the fair folk or the Tylwyth Teg operate, very much in their own lane. There are others who believe that Annwfn is not so much a literal physical place, but more a place you go within your mind. Somewhere that you go to tap into the Annwn, which is the divine inspiration, the poetic wisdom. Some people believe that you go to Annwfn within yourself to tap into this Annwn, to tap into this creativity through your subconscious mind. They think the realm of Annwfn is within your subconscious, essentially. It is within Annwfn you can tap into that creative source, that knowledge, that wisdom. This is a theory that I'm still working out and trying to articulate. I find it super interesting, but for now, I'm just going to leave you to ponder on that. What do you think? For context, if you want to know more about the story of Ceridwen and Taliesin, which I think are important for understanding Annwn, I would highly suggest you check out my friend's channel, Stella. She's very, very recently uploaded a video about the story of Ceridwen and Taliesin, and bonus, she also has a video about Annwn that you can check out too. I'll put her channel in the description so you can go and check it out after this video. Remember, Annwfn translates to the very deep, or the deep place. And I think that lends quite poetically to the theory that Annwfn is a place you go to within yourself and your subconscious to tap into the Annwn. This also bridges into a theory of my own, which is less serious and more fun, and more for the conspiracy heads, about what Annwfn could be. I've spoken about this before, but I think Annwfn could be the Welsh interpretation for the Hollow Earth, or more correctly, the Inner Earth. And no, I don't think that the Earth is hollow. Rather, I think we have vast subterranean caves, caverns, and places that are deep within the Earth. And when I say vast, I mean vast in a way that we probably can't comprehend. Some of the most well-known examples of entryways and portals to Annwfn are caves and bodies of water and underground spaces. And look, we have vast cave networks all over the world. I mean, in Wales specifically, and in South Wales even more specifically, there are so many caves. We have a type of Tylwyth Teg or fae folk, which is known as the Cobliniau. They are my favourite type of fae, just for those who want to know. And they are very, very much cave fairies. They're usually always found in caves beneath the earth. But look, I might be going a bit off topic, so I'll leave that for you to ponder too. If you have an interest in Welsh mythology and folklore, learning about Annwfn is going to be paramount to your journey. Even though I have a vast interest in it, there is still so many aspects of the Welsh Otherworld I just don't understand or am not even aware of yet. It's only in the last 4 years I've really become aware of it. The mystical realm of Annwfn, the deep place, is at the very centre point of Welsh mythology and folklore for me, and I think a lot of other people would agree. What do you think Annwfn is? When you hear the word, what thoughts, feelings and emotions does it evoke in you? Which theory, if any, do you think might be true? Or do you have your own theory that you want to throw into the ring? Please share your thoughts and theories and feelings in the comments. And if there's anything that I've spoken about in this video you would like me to make a separate video on going into more detail, please let me know. Blessings, Liminal folk, and I'll catch you all in the next video.